All right, let's kick off this explainer by completely shattering a myth we've literally all heard a million times. We're constantly told to just do what makes you happy, right? Society is always pushing this equation where our life's ultimate purpose is totally tied to effortless joy, frictionless living, and instant pleasure. We're basically sold this idea that if we just find the right career or the perfect hobby, every single day is going to feel like a vacation. But the source text we're analyzing today argues that if you're constantly chasing endless balloons and roller coasters to find your calling, well, you're looking in the entirely wrong place. What if the real equation for your life's purpose is actually something much heavier, a lot more demanding, and yet infinitely more rewarding? Today, we're unpacking a radically different framework from our source text, and it's going to completely shift how you view your personal hardships. The core concept here is essentially emotional alchemy. Now, historically, alchemy was that mythical practice of trying to turn worthless, heavy lead into pure gold. What we're exploring right now is the modern psychological equivalent of that. It's the deeply human process of taking the raw, heavy lead of our own agony and actively transforming it into the gold of our life's purpose. It's a truly fascinating architecture for building a meaningful life, and we're going to build this concept right now from the ground up. Okay, let's dive into Section 1, the myth of joy and rethinking life's purpose. I really want to pause and let this core thesis sink in for a second. Your life's meaning is in your pain. Wow. That goes against literally every biological and psychological instinct we have. As humans, our absolute deepest instinct is to run as fast as we can away from discomfort. If we touch a hot stove, we instantly pull our hand back. And we naturally apply that exact same physical reflex to our emotional lives, right? We try to numb, avoid, or just outrun our suffering at all costs. But the author argues that true meaning isn't found on the beaches of constant relaxation. It's not in a life with zero friction. The massive shift in perspective here is that your deepest meaning is actually hidden inside the very fire you're trying to escape. Imagine someone who faces a devastating financial ruin or a severe health crisis, and instead of just recovering, they find their ultimate calling right there in that space. Instead of viewing pain as a detour away from your life's meaning, the text says it's actually the source material. To really get this paradigm shift, we've got to totally rethink the word passion. Modern culture loudly insists that passion just means doing what you love. We equate it with having fun or getting paid to do our favorite things. But it's super interesting to look at the actual roots of the word. Passion comes from the ancient Latin word passio, which literally translates to suffering or enduring. The source text goes right back to this ancient root and redefines passion not as your capacity for joy, but as your willingness to struggle and suffer, specifically if it serves other people. Think about how much that changes the game. Your passion is no longer measured by your self-gratification. It's measured entirely by your endurance. It asks a much tougher question. What burden are you actually willing to carry for the greater good? The source is incredibly explicit here. Abandon the shallow pursuit of instant joy. Why? Because it's totally fleeting. Let's be real, it's a whole lot easier to grab a pint of ice cream and spend 3 hours doom scrolling on the couch than it is to climb a literal or metaphorical mountain in a storm. Instant pleasure just doesn't build a foundation for a deeply meaningful life. Instead, the text urges us to make this crazy counterintuitive choice, willingly stay in the pain and struggle. And to be clear, this isn't about being a masochist. It's this profound realization that escaping the struggle means you're escaping the exact forge that tempers your character. You've got to be willing to hold your ground in the trenches of your own development when things get incredibly tough, because that friction, that's what actually shapes you. Moving right along to Section 2, finding what pains you, the internal audit. So how do we actually do this? The philosophy unfolds through a really specific 3-part engine. You can't just passively absorb hardship. You have to actively harness it. First, find your pain. Second, develop the skills to endure and manage it. And third, share that earned wisdom. And listen, the sequence here is absolutely critical. You cannot skip step 2. If you try to jump straight from experiencing pain to offering wisdom to others without doing the grueling work of mastering it yourself first, well, that isn't alchemy. That's just the blind leading the blind. That's just shared misery. True transformation requires you to consciously move from victimhood to intense mastery, and then finally to outward service. The author says you have to kick off this process by doing a check on yourself. And this requires a level of absolute brutal honesty that most of us completely avoid. You got to look inward and clearly identify the specific thing that pains you the most. And we need to differentiate here. We're not talking about what merely annoys you. Being stuck in gridlock traffic is an annoyance. What the text is asking you to locate is that deep, persistent ache. It's the lingering sting of a massive failure, the heavy burden of isolation, or a profound personal loss. This rigorous internal evaluation is mandatory because you simply can't transform a struggle that you refuse to acknowledge. You have to be willing to shine a blinding spotlight on the absolute darkest corners of your own experience. All right, section 3, mastering your struggle, the crucible of mastery. Instead of running away or numbing the discomfort with whatever distraction is handy, the text insists you have to stay inside the pain to actively work on yourself. You're basically instructed to treat your deepest pain as this incredibly strict, demanding curriculum. Pain is the professor, and you are the student. You have to study the terrain of your specific suffering, navigate its traps, systematically build coping mechanisms, profound resilience, and a super deep, nuanced understanding of this specific hardship until you attain mastery over that area of your life. You aren't just trying to barely pass the class here. You are putting in the grueling hours to become the absolute foremost expert in your own specific suffering. Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Section 4, serving others with wisdom, the ultimate purpose. This is the vital step where the alchemy actually finishes. The big plot twist of this entire framework, the struggle was never just for you. The ultimate goal is to take that wisdom you earned all alone in the dark through mastering your own struggle and offer it outward to reduce pain in someone else's life. Just think about the profound psychological relief embedded in that concept. It takes the darkest, most agonizing moments of your past and literally turns them into a lantern. The internal narrative completely shifts from, "Why did this terrible thing happen to me?" to, "This happened to me and I mastered it so I could use my lantern to guide you out of the exact same darkness." Your personal suffering literally becomes the exact medicine someone else is desperately waiting for. The source material ties the whole shebang together beautifully, cementing this incredibly powerful rule. That becomes your purpose if your passion is serving other people. It solidifies the idea that your deepest pain only fully transforms into your true purpose when your passion, which, remember, we defined earlier as your profound willingness to struggle, is entirely focused outward on serving others. The really hard, solitary inward journey of mastering your own pain absolutely has to culminate in the generous outward journey of helping others carry theirs. According to the text, that is the complete, unbroken cycle of a truly meaningful life. So this entire framework challenges you to completely and utterly stop running from your pain. Instead, it gives us a radical blueprint for viewing that exact pain as the foundational architecture for your life's greatest, most impactful contribution to the world. I want to leave you with a powerful two-part provocation derived straight from the logic of the text we've explored today. Seriously, spend some real time reflecting on this later. What pains you the most, and who are you going to help once you master it?